Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Open Table Adventures. As always, I am Dan the Baker, and I am back today with Table Talks, our little interview series where we talk to some of my and your favorite TTRPG content creators from across the internet. Today, I am joined by Michael. Michael, hi. How are you doing?
Hello, good to be here, Dan.
So happy to have you. When we start off, are you telling us a little bit about who you are, what you do, why people like you?
Why people like me is debatable, because I've been wondering that myself for quite some time. But I am a tabletop content creator. I am the GM currently for three different actual play streams online right now on different channels. I'm also a professional DM for games in comic book shops, and for recently for this wonderful company called Dungeons and Drafts, which brings D&D games to breweries for awesome parties and getting a taste of local drafts and brews, and it's kind of like being in the tavern while doing your adventure. So that's been a lot of fun, and I just love playing these games. And God, I was fiddling around with this as my little, ADHD thing. So that'll tell you pretty much everything.
For sure, yeah. Once again, thank you so much for coming on. I'd love to start just at how did your TTRPG journey start? Like, what games did you start with? How did you come to be this wonderful GM that you are today?
Well, first of all, thank you. I started with 5e when it came out. I, for the longest time, like I always knew that I was a nerdy individual, and growing up, liking all the stuff that would be typical of the modern nerd, as it were, nowadays. But when it came to D&D, that was always like, ooh, that's too nerdy. I don't want to cross the border. Like, I don't want to get too deep into that world. I had no idea that it honestly would have helped me with a lot of skills growing up as a kid, including math.
Oh
But
yeah.
when 5e came out, my friends who had played in the past wanted to just have this regular kind of like pickup game where every time we're available, we would come together for a game, and it would be like an adventure of the day scenario. And we've been doing that pretty much since like 2013, 14, on and off, when we can, getting groups together. And yeah, and then we just kind of exposed ourselves to other games that we kind of discovered by accident, or just kind of heard through the grapevine, or for friends who have played games before when they were younger. And we just all started getting addicted to it. Then once we started getting into the regular habit of meeting more often, that's when the lockdown happened, when the pandemic started. And like many other people, I discovered a lot of the actual play shows that were out there, binged all of them, and kind of became like a student of these games by watching them and seeing how they were played and how they were crafted. And the production element was always my favorite part of it, because I come from a theater background, not unlike a lot of tabletop
Yeah.
fans. The crossover is very much a very big pancake. It's not too hard to dissect. But when someone who's been doing improv since they were like 13 years old, when it dawned on me that like these games are basically just one long form, semi-structured improv scene, I was like, I'm in. And that's where the love of group collaborative storytelling came. And I took the dive into running a game just on a whim on a Discord server. People were looking to play, and I was like, I've played before, but I'd love to run a game. And they were like, great, we need you. We need a game runner. Because there's always a need for a DM.
Always.
And I couldn't turn back. That's like, it was like, I love doing this. And I've been able to, make some shows with other people. I've been able to run games for charity streams, and been able to participate in stuff like that. And been able to go to conventions and run games and play test material and have like first access to stuff. So it was like seeing all these things all the things that I love about like performance and production and writing and storytelling, and hanging out with people and getting to know all different personality types and perspectives could all be culminated into this type of play. I was like, I can't believe I didn't do this so long like before. Like I couldn't believe like it took this long to really become like a regular at it.
Yeah. I do think that is one of the cool things about the TTRPG community is it is so diverse. And like, people come from all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of walks of life, and like we all have this collective love, for these games that just brings us together. And like I think it helps, helps bring out interesting, unique stories because since everyone has all these different perspectives, there's so many different perspectives in the stories and in the games.
Oh, for sure, because as a storyteller, you are kind of like recommended to leave a piece of yourself behind when it comes to making sure that nothing like unhealthily overlaps. But there's always going to be a perspective or a personality trait that you unconsciously will bring into a story or a character or whatever it may be in your game, and you get a little insight into those people. And you get some idea of like their values and their loves, their hates, their experiences that even if they don't outright say, like, you can figure out like the lines and veil systems that a majority of us use allow us to not only use it for safety tool out of respect of the players, but also it's a means of gaining perspective as to, there are those who are affected by those things that you've heard about that may not have affected you in life. Now you have the opportunity to educate yourself and find out a way of, well, how do I talk to someone who has gone through something like that? Or how do I behave in those types of situations where I'm respecting what, they believe and what they've gone through? And it's all about like that collective unconsciousness that I love about it, where even though at the end of the day we're just, having fun and telling stories, behind the scenes throughout this whole thing, you are absorbing everyday life and experience from others who have lived lives and from what you're sharing of the lives that you've lived out there. And it's just a cool, like, way to become this coterminous overlap of experience and just human condition.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to, you kind of, talked about this a little bit already, but before, outside of like the TTRPG world, you said you did like improv, you did theater. Is that stuff you're still involved with today?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll never be able to leave that behind. It's just, it's my other biggest passion for, I studied theater in school. I, went to college for theater. I was able to, they were nice enough to let me minor in improvisation as like my own self created course for it. That got me into a love of producing live theater and putting on shows. And I've had the privilege of being able to put together comedy shows since professionally since 2016. And, having been able to put stuff up in New York and been able to travel to different cities too. It's always the performance aspect of that has always been at core, like what I always consider myself. And all the theatrical, business side and even like from the production side and putting a show together and all of the things that it takes to put something up on stage has been able to translate well into streaming, where a lot of the elements are essentially the same in terms of, setting up your acts and knowing where to break and knowing how to work different tech, whether you're using something like OBS or StreamYard or Discord or whatever it may be. Like the communication skills like that a director would need for their players, while a GM is like kind of running a game and leading people to certain points that you have an idea of where this story could go, but also just the spontaneity factor from doing improv so much of, you know, I love the concept, the core concept of acceptance, because you're establishing this trust with another performer that you and I are sharing the same world right now, and we are in an established reality that we both agree on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while that is just a fundamental scene building thing, like, you can look pretty deep into that and see how powerful that is just as a philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
To just be like, you and I are in this world right now, Dan. You and I share this existence. We have accepted what this reality is. We both know the truth of this moment right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we're helping each other in understand the bigger picture as we go on. Like, I love shit like that. Like,
mm-hmm.
So like all of that just kind of being able to encompass itself into the performances and the whatever writing, you know, if people think like it's only about the words that are on the page or the people that are on, you know, stage or the music, but a lighting designer has a story that they tell too,
mm-hmm.
with the way that they purposely use what light, when, and where. Sound designers, the mixing that they use is all purposeful to tell the story. The set
mm-hmm.
design, the very crafting of the stages itself, the costuming, like all of those elements of theater are purposeful to the story. So I like to think of that in the same way with games when people are creating their characters or we're world building together. Like, I like to think of it like we're an entire art department for this Broadway
mm-hmm.
show. We're not just the actors and the directors. What are we bringing to this to tell the story together? Like, that's why I go in depth of like, well, what was your character's favorite food growing up? Like, I love like little random questions like that for stuff to just be like, enrich yourself with these ideas so that it comes across
mm-hmm.
in the performance where you're playing your game and you're telling the truth that this character knows. Because at the end of the day, it's like, well, it may never be brought up in a game at all. Like, your backstory stuff may just kind of like come and go and may not
mm-hmm.
be as important. But if you're completely aware of this fully developed and collaborative world and people that we've created together, it's just going to come off so much more sincere. And then you're going to be more invested in the game watching these people who are playing these sincere characters. Even if it is just like a rabbit with a sword that goes by the name Lucky.
That's pretty interesting to start with, for sure. I do think at its core, most TTRPGs are about exploration, you know, not just about, you know, exploring a world, but like exploring your character and exploring their interactions with characters. So that is, it's a super interesting perspective of like, you need to know all these things, even if they never come up, you know, like it might not matter that my character's allergic to peanuts, but it informs them, you know, like, oh, they had a bad anaphylactic scare when they were a kid, so like that informs their decisions and stuff.
Because that's what, like, I mean, that's what, you know, any good play or any good musical or any good TV show or film you see,
mm-hmm.
when you can relate to it just because of the subtlety of what feels like a reflection of a human condition, whether it's
mm-hmm.
something that you've lived through or you can tell that they're being honest about, then you're invested in what you're watching. And when I make something, whether it's, even if it's just a one shot,
mm-hmm.
I like to make sure that, okay, it's something that you're giving me 3 hours minimum maybe of your time to watch something that is can at times maybe plot a little depending on the mechanics of games.
Mm-hmm.
But if I've got your attention from the emotional investment that these people have put into this world and their characters, even if it is just for a brief amount of time, then I hope that's reflected and it gets people to watch it in the same way.
Yeah, for sure. Just kind of backtracking a little bit, but I always find it interesting talking to people who have a production background, like either theater or film, as storytellers, just because the way they describe scenes is so, like, it comes across so, like, cinematic. Like, they describe the, you know, the sweeping camera angles and the lighting and like all the colors. I always find that so fascinating.
I love to do that, and I know that like there are great there are great styles you'll find in a lot of the more higher profile and exposed GMs we see online. Like Abria Iyengar is a fantastic
Oh
example
yeah.
of someone who can set up, who uses her words as like the screen of, and her eyes are the camera that she is watching and translating these visual shots through. Like she is a director of cinematography when it comes to describing things in a game. And I think that also is a major aspect of her theater directing background as well.
Yeah.
And and with there's specialties that every GM has that I think are universal. Like we love to be able to paint a picture with words. We like to be able to embellish on the moments that a player may describe to kind of bring them even in more into the world. Like I know Matt Mercer does a lot with that, where a player will describe what they do with their action, and then he will take that and just build upon it so that it fits into this thing that they've all established with. Brennan Lee Mulligan will do very cinematic dialogue and monologue moments, but also take those moments that are usually like seen for pauses or for long montages and able to craft like a visual description. But I always love to kind of like, I take my things from all the different GMs I've seen over the years, and both online and in person with different games. And the one thing that I love personally is having a true like engagement with the other players' characters, where they can, they're more than welcome to describe what they want to do, but I also want to hear from their character's perspective what it is that they're thinking in that moment and why they're doing it. Because when it comes down to it, intention is always so much more important to me than if mechanically you can pull something off.
Yeah.
If you can tell me what exactly you are intending to do, I will work with you to try and make it happen in the best means that the game, whatever game we're playing, will allow.
I always try and get my players, it doesn't always work, but I always try to get them to first describe what they're going to do, and then we can figure out what role that is.
Exactly.
A lot of games, that's like baked into the rules, is like, hey, yeah, players should never really say the names of what like a role is. Like I know Monster of the Week talks about that a lot in their rules of like the only person who should be asking for rules or asking for roles is the keeper. They like a character should just go in, describe how they're approaching a scene, and then the GM will say, okay, give me this role,
Right, because that's their basic way of saying, like, I don't want you to have to think about the rules. I don't want you to have to think about, your mechanics. And that's also an approach I like to take with any game. It's like, I don't care what it says on your sheet. Tell me what you think your character would want to do. Not being like in any meta sense of what spells or weapons they have on hand. It's like, in this moment, what is your character thinking about doing? And then we can work backwards from that.
Yeah, like there is sometimes there is a nice combination where you can be like, oh, my character is proficient in in medicine, so they're going to be looking at kind of the looking at these injuries or whatever, like as they approach a scene. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it is it's the rules aspect should be left more in the the GM's hand, just to give the players just a chance to play around in the scene more.
Yeah, because they're like every book says, these things are guidelines. They're meant to be tools for you to use to tell your story. Ultimately, it is the player and the GM who are telling the story together. And I love that. I also love finding a means of being able to celebrate failure as much as success. Because, oh my gosh, can so many good things come out of when things go wrong. Take for instance, I was running a game last night, and it was the first game that I had run in a long time where the team legitimately failed the mission. that they were meant to do. It wasn't that they were making any wrong choices, and they were very insightful, and they were very. It's just that the dice and the mechanics of it did not want them to succeed, and a lot of times that happens. So whether it was an attack that was missed, I would reward that with, oh, okay, well, since you are a very large lumbering barbarian, it's not that you completely miss. Your sword just is way too big and scratches the roof of this train that you're on. So you're not going to have enough time to really strike down upon someone. But at the same time, they were able to block an attack, but not counter with it. So the weapon got entangled with their enemies, and they were able to throw it away, and because they're a very strong individual. So I'm going to reward the abilities that you do have, even if you are not successful in your original intention. And they ultimately came together to realize the safety of our group is more important than succeeding in what we're trying to do right now. So we need to make sure we get out of here alive. Yeah. And I was like, that's really heartwarming, first of all. Just to have this collective unselfish moment from three strangers who were meeting for the first time, playing only a 2-hour session. And I was wondering, at the end, I asked them, hey, so I know it didn't go as planned, but what did you all think? And they were like, we had a great time, we can't wait for the next one. And I was like, that's what it's all about. That's all that it comes down to.
Yeah, I think I've been thinking about this recently, just because I've been working on game design and stuff, how failure, the consequences of a failure should not be a punishment,
Right.
Because of course it's not the player or the character's fault for if they fail a dice roll. It's just the dice, it wasn't in there, so it shouldn't be there shouldn't be some consequences that the player is not okay with, or the player can't deal with.
The dice to me is always when people are rolling low, that's doing an improv scene with a partner who is always just negating and just saying no, well, how am I going to work around these no's that are going around where they're stopping the action of the scene? What can I do to twist that to still keep momentum going? So that's always, first of all, those people are monsters in scenes. You should not be doing improv. What's wrong with you? Or get better.
The first rule of improv. First rule of improv. Yes, and.
That's the thing. There's the accept, and the thing is, it's not like you're always just agreeing that every single thing that is happening is what the reality is. It's just you and I have both agreed that the world is green, and we are made of cheese. So what results from that? And then if you say, yes, I'm made of cheese, but I'm Gouda. Okay, cool. Well, I'm Swiss. You're still agreeing that you're both made of cheese and the rest of the world is green. I know it's the silliest example, but it's legitimately how you can explain the easiest way of, well, what if someone says no? Well, they're not saying directly no and stopping you. Their truth just doesn't agree with your truth at the same time. And I kind of love that. But man, just
it's annoying.
Sometimes probability just really rears its ugly head, and all those doesn't matter how many sides are on your dice. It wants to, you can be as superstitious as you want about it too. Sometimes you're just gonna have a bad night.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's where I like Monster of the Week and games like that, where and Kids on Bikes, where if you fail, you're either given an experience to help you fix the next thing, or you get an adversity token to help you succeed in the future, which is such a good element. And I'm trying to find ways to incorporate that into 5e games, because when you fail in a 5e game, that's it. That's kind of your options are this and then yes or no. But in real life, if you fail at something, you then use that as a learning experience to know what not to do. And that's why with Monster of the Week, it's so great, because then you can use that and you gain enough failures, you level up because you failed. So failing upwards is a real life skill that happens because you're learning exactly what you did wrong in the past, and now not to do that. So you try it a different way, which equals bonuses to allow you to actually succeed. I love stuff like that.
It's a reflection of it's a reflection of how, just like you said, how real life is, you learn, you adapt, you change, you succeed in the future.
Yeah. And if you don't, well, you're just going to be stuck in that hole.
Yeah. Great. So I think that now moves us into our game portion of the evening. I'm trying not to sound like a pageant host.
Sorry.
So tonight, I have a game for you that I am calling What's in a Name? Because we all, as a GM, the scene, you have an NPC in there, you have the shopkeep, the players are talking to them, and they say, oh, what's the shopkeep's name? And you go, shit, I did not plan for this. So I have 5 descriptions of just like an NPC or a character, and I would like you, top of your head, come up with a name for them.
Perfect.
Cool.
Am I allowed to ask any qualifying questions if by any chance?
Yeah, sure.
Like any counter questions? Okay,
yeah.
Cool. We'll go.
How confident are you? Scale of 1 to 10.
11.
11. Perfect. Great.
This is my jam, man.
Yeah.
I've been making up stupid scene name characters since I was like 13 years old. I'm 38 January.
Cool. Great. So if you do bad at this, then
and it's all my fault. I've hyped myself up way too much.
All right. Our first character is a shopkeeper whose store is lined with seemingly useless random knickknacks and bric-a-brac, but some of which may be highly cursed.
Hudson. Yes. They are about 48 years old. They've got like they've got a like a gray undercut, like it's dark brown but like kind of slick back, but like so they're clearly going through some identity crisis stuff at the moment, but the one thing that they're always like happy about that keeps them routine is knowing what exactly is cursed, although he plays it off kind of coy. He's got like a bit of a Van Dyke hairstyle on the front face. Tried it out a different couple of ways, probably half elf, just because I feel like half elves are the hipster of fantasy world. So they've seen some stuff. They knew about cursed items before it was cool. You know what I mean?
Of course. Nice. Hudson, I like it. Number 2, we have a small child who's also a world-renowned detective/investigator.
Ezekiel, full name, goes by Zeke by his friends. Most likely, I'm gonna say, probably just human child, but hangs out primarily with gnomes because he's got a bit of a height deficiency on him growing up. He hasn't quite reached his growth spurt yet. So he's probably around like 11, 12, and is such a big fan of like the Penny Dreadful types of stories, and always sees himself like trying to become an investigator, very much like his favorite novel heroes. Always is carrying around his great-grandfather's magnifying glass, but even though his great-grandfather was involved in taxes, so he just happened to carry that as an inheritance, but now he's a detective.
Very nice. Ezekiel. Number 3, a fancy high elven aristocrat or politician who moonlights on the weekends as a drag queen.
Okay, I like this. This is a challenge.
This could be 2 names in one too, because it can be their name and their drag name.
I gotta think their daylight and their moonlighting name. So by day they are Ooh, this is a tough one. I like this though. Thank you for this challenge. They are Gerald Quill. They are a normal man about town. Has a floral shop. Was agriculture background. but by night, they shed the veil of the humble gardener and become gypsy quartz. Lovely singer known for their jewel-encrusted garb, and uses a form of I'm trying to think of the schools of magic. Uses transmutation magic in their performance to kind of give some crystalline shine and floating orb spectacle, so it almost seems like they're a walking disco ball.
Honestly, a wizard drag queen would be so good.
Right? Like, I mean, we've all played Baldur's Gate 3 at this point. Gale, when you shave off the face, that's just ready to just strike a pose right there.
Ready for the runway.
Tell me you've seen, though, lately, there are videos online, somebody has modded Guitar Hero scenes and put the Baldur's Gate characters in them, singing the most thematically appropriate songs. I have scrolled through countless videos of this, just laughing my ass off.
I have not, but now that you've said it, I'm sure they will be everywhere.
You have not lived until you have seen Shadowheart, Astarion, Lae'zel, and Karlach do Wake Me Up Inside.
Oh, no. Great. Number 4, a grizzled boatman who spends years at a time at sea fishing up huge monsters.
Oh, yes. That would be grizzled. So they're probably. Let's guess this is like a half orc, half ogre individual, and I would say that. Okay, we're gonna go with Isaac Fulton, and their ship changes names all the time based upon which ex-wife he's thinking of at the moment.
Of course.
This week it is the Charlene. Coincidentally, which is also the name of the female magistrate from town.
Ooh, interesting. Now, what could it mean?
What could it mean?
Great. So this brings us to our last one. A dragon tamer who lives secluded out in the mountains, training dragons from eggs to fight for them.
Susan.
Yeah, that's all we need. Susan, great.
That's a bit of an inside joke for me, because apparently I had, for a long run of doing shows, improv shows in New York, of the first female name I would think of would be Susan for a scene partner. So I was like, well, it works. Yeah. It's the first one that pops up there. And also, why can't there be just more common names of folks in fantasy realms? Yeah. There's the mighty paladin Hank.
Susan.
Let's talk to Gary, the armor smith.
I love it. Susan's also my grandma's name, so I'll take it.
There you go.
She would definitely, she would train some dragons for sure. Great, thank you so much. That was so fun. You seem like you had such a good time with it.
I think I love that game. I want to do that for session zeros.
Yeah.
I have an insider tool for all you GMs out there who are looking for a means of getting out of that, oh my god, what's in a name type thing. So I use this app, and it's stupid free. It's awesome. It's called RP Gen, Gen. And literally just like name of a store, name of a city, name of a location, name of a NPC, different type of heritage of NPC. Do you need a magic item name? It's like, boom, you click it and then you can save it. And I've got in those moments when the last thing you're thinking about is what is the name of this place that they're going to and who are they going to talk to, boom, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm saved.
Lifesaver.
It has helped me, folks. I'm telling you, tables and generators for stuff like that, there is no shame in using them when you need to figure out a moment or an encounter in a pinch.
Yeah, for sure. So that brings us to our TTRPG Spotlight corner, where we ask our guests to shine a spotlight on something happening in the TTRPG world that they want everyone else to be as excited for as they are. What do you have for us today?
So I am excited for the all the new like independent games that are coming out in the wake of this past year's OGL debacle. I have had so much more fun discovering independent games on places like itch and on like Drive-Thru RPG, even though not so much on there, but like just especially now on Threads. Threads has been such a fantastic hub for people who have been looking for other indie game developers, especially in tabletop. So I recommend people start using that, because if you hated Twitter, don't worry about it. All that stuff that we hated is not there. And if you really like legitimately want to connect with other people who make good stuff and like are honest and earnest about it, Threads has been such a wonderful resource for that. And if you just Google indie tabletop games, the amount of amazing things that are going to pop up your way. And for people who are doing this as a lark too, sometimes people just make these games just for the fun of it. I've discovered systems that I've been using in full campaigns that were just like a free to play thing, and it became a cornerstone of a game that I've run in the past. So just look out for all of these amazing third-party indie games that are just people have either successfully kickstarted or just putting out there for like a couple of bucks just because they're fun to make. Do those creators a favor, invest in them, because they're a lot of fun, and the repeat value of be able to play them back and back again with different people or the same people in different ways all the time, it's so much more fun.
For sure. Looking through just on itch and seeing just the new indie games I'll do that and it's like, here's a $5 game that seems interesting. Even if I never play it, I'll like, let me send $5 to this person because they made a thing, they deserve to get paid for it.
And they also do those wonderful like charity packages where they'll stuff like 200 games into a thing for like $25, and then it all goes to an amazing cause. Like itch.io has just been such a valuable resource of connecting people to new games, and also really like being incredibly heartfelt charitable to awesome causes. So
all the time,
do your part, help everybody out.
Great. Here at the end of our interview, I always love to give our interviewees a chance to talk about their project, what they have going on. So what do you have going on? Where can people find you doing stuff?
Absolutely. If people want to follow this project that I've been developing and trying to make like a whole grassroots element out of, I have been lucky enough to be signed on as a content ambassador for Cobalt Press for their Tales of the Valiant system, which is supposed to be coming out, they keep saying, early 2024. I don't know when that's going to be. But I've been able to play test it, and I've been able to run games with it, and I'm starting a new actual play that I'm would love to be like the premier actual play of that system once it is coming out, called Valiant Adventures. And we are really trying to make it an immersive and interactive experience for people when they watch it live on stream, so that what they can contribute will actually influence the story. Where I want essentially the chat to feel like the fifth player at the game. The tech that we're using will be very immersive in terms of the virtual tabletop, so that people can watch it as it's being played in real time, like on their phone or on another tab or whatever it may be. Even like the music that we're using and the artwork that is being influenced. Like, I'm trying to basically make this like, I want as you're playing this game, or as you're watching this game, you are feeling like you're there with us. And because there's nothing better than that shared feeling of just being at a table and experience a game, even if you're not even like playing it. I've spectated plenty of my friends' games, and I've always had a blast doing that. But like, just we want to make that element of immersion really kind of set us apart from other stories and other shows where you're just kind of a spectator. We would love for people who are watching it to have essentially a stake in the way that the story goes through the interactive elements that we're crafting for this. So if you want to follow that in its development, it's everywhere online. It's at Valiant Adventures, one word. I was able to get the handle for pretty much everything there, so that's where you can find us.
So cool, great. I've been seeing you posting all about this. I'm so excited for it. And what are your like personal socials and stuff that people can find you at?
Yeah, you can find me at Michael St. Gregory. Just Google those 3 names in succession, and you'll see this page pop up. I've been working with a couple channels, 2B Diced Adventures. I've been GMing for them. I've been developing stuff for mutual collaborators that we know. And currently, I also do a live interactive stream with some folks from Roll D5 for a website called Couch Soup. We do a sci-fi game called Atlas Terminal. Another one it's a every other Thursday live stream. Yeah, you just find my name and you'll find the stuff that I'm attached with, and I'm usually either on Threads or TikTok, so find me there.
Great. Thank you so much. All of the links for all of your things will be down in the description below, so make sure you check out all the exciting things Michael has for us in the future. Thank you so much for joining me, Michael. It's so fun, so good getting to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, blast.
Good, I'm glad. Thank you, everyone, for coming along and hanging out with us as well. As always, I've been Dan the Baker at Dan_the_Baker, wherever I want you to find me. You can always find me here at Open Table Adventures, where we have all of our actual plays, like our Monster of the Week game, Park Strangers, Neptune's Revenge, or Call of Cthulhu game. Our Christmas special is coming out soon, or possibly has already come out when this comes out. I'm not sure. We had our Halloween special a little bit ago. So many things, more interviews, more talks with some of your favorite content creators. So make sure you stick around, subscribe, check it all out. And I am so happy to have you here because you are always welcome to pull up a seat. Bye-bye.